While traveling as a Tarnished in the lands between, we get introduced to this region's inhabitants as well as the travelers from beyond the fog. During my own exploration, there was one mysterious detail about these characters that always fascinated me. Why do most people we meet on our journey hide their faces? At first, I believed that those who exist in the lands between prefer to cover their eyes as a way to keep in secret their allegiance, status, or even nature as a Tarnished. But after exploring this topic a bit further, I came to a conclusion that most characters in this game do not actually hide their eyes, but cover their faces for a variety of different reasons, from protection to ritualistic purposes and mimicry. And today, instead of digging deep into this game's lore, I suggest we look outside of the lands between, at our own world, its history, culture, and art that could have inspired some in-game items, and through this exercise try to understand why almost every character we meet is wearing a mask. I will of course talk about the characters that pique my own interest, but if there are any other characters or headpieces you'd like to discuss, you're so welcome to share your thoughts in the comments. I always appreciate your opinions. Of course, the most common reason a person would cover their face in this world is protection. Foot soldiers, high-ranking knights, warriors from the faraway lands. All of them are seen wearing protective headgear, and if we look at the helms of the current-day armies of the lands between, we can notice how much more realistic they are and find similar designs in the real world, while the helms from the older days appear more imaginary, inspired by fictional characters or ancient myths. It might be an environmental design choice, made to underline the end of the era of gods and the start of the new era of man. But what about the helms that have a face depicted on them? Just like in real life, it seems like the helms that have an image of a human face on the visor belong to those of a higher status. After all, it would require the soldier to have quite a bit of money to order an intricately made armor. In the Roman Empire, masked helmets were used by high-ranking cavalry in ritual tournaments. Their armor and headgear lavishly decorated with mythological imagery for display purposes. And so I believe in the lands between, the unique faceplates indicated a one-of-a-kind warrior. The sickly air of House Marais reminded a lot of players of King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, specifically the art decision made for Ridley Scott's 2005 movie The Kingdom of Heaven, where the Leper King is shown wearing a mask that perhaps was made to resemble his younger self. In reality, Baldwin wasn't known to wear a metal mask. Nonetheless, the character from the movie has a memorable design that I too believe could have inspired the mask of the head of House Marais and one of the chief guarding Arganthi, presumably a noble woman that belongs to the same house. But what if I told you that there is another character in the game who might be covering their face for reasons similar to King Baldwin's? When I first looked into reasons why Lady Tanith could be covering her face, I outlined the following three possibilities. To preserve her beauty, like the aristocratic ladies on these famously mysterious paintings, to hide her face from the eyes of the outsiders, or to follow the fashion trends of the nobility. Speaking about fashion, it seems customary for House Marais, House Hoslow, and House Height to wear metal masks. Before becoming one with the serpent, Lord Rykard of the Volcano Manor can be seen on the paintings in the house wearing a mask of similar style. As his queen, Tanith most likely had to wear a mask as well. But I believe there might be a second motive for Tanith to wear a mask, one that might be shared by other people of the lands without destined death, especially rulers who are more safe behind the castle walls than the soldiers on the battlefield and have the privilege to age. I bet once young and full of life, their visage slowly turns hollow, and to cover their deformed appearances, they wear masks resembling their young faces, just like the Leper King in the movie. One similar mask, worn by Thiollier, looks slightly different, and not only because of its material. If you take a closer look at his mask, its closed eyes and calm face expression, you may see how it resembles a death mask. A death mask is a likeness of a person's face after death, usually made by taking a cast or impression from the corpse. They can be made as mementos or for historical preservation. In some ancient cultures, a funeral mask was made to be placed on the face of the deceased before burial. Considering he in fact is a tarnished, perhaps Thiollier woke up and found himself buried. So he just continued wearing his funeral mask to hide his face, as he himself describes his character as cowardly. Another group of people who might need to protect their faces on the battlefield are the war surgeons. The only surviving member of the group each of us met in the beginning of the game is White Mask Varre. As a doctor, could the reason why he hides behind a mask be inspired by dottori, a classic Venetian mask associated by many with the plague doctors? In medieval Europe, people haven't yet discovered the nature of diseases, so the long beak of the mask was filled with flowers to prevent inhaling the sickness. But what sort of sickness can Varre get in the gruesome world of the lands between that hasn't yet affected him? Perhaps Varre is similar to the people in Venice who used to wear masks on a daily basis to conceal their doings. I doubt it too, because he seems pretty open and proud about his allegiance. So I suggest another parallel, the masked soldiers of the Second World War, those who wore prostheses to conceal their deformed faces. Varre is or was a war surgeon, so it's highly likely he got some sort of injury, and the thin mask that perfectly follows the structure of his face could have been made to hide it. Some people in the lands between need to cover their faces. Some were forced to do it, like the prisoners of the dark shunning grounds of Leyndell or Carian magic preceptors. But what about those who willingly chose to put on a mask? Lord Goldmask crafted his own headpiece in resemblance of a halo. It represents both his brilliant inspiration and the shape of a perfect order he foresaw. A halo is a common ancient symbol, a circle or sometimes a different shape of light surrounding a holy figure. It's used in the visual art of many religions worldwide, from the beliefs of ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt to Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. But it's not exactly the inspiration behind the Goldmask's creation. A radiant halo with a ring inside. This is a sunburst-shaped monstrance, a vessel used in certain Christian traditions for the practice of Eucharistic adoration. The origin of the word literally means to demonstrate, and the central part of the vessel, called Luna, is supposed to hold the presence of God inside, similarly to the ring inside the halo of the Goldmask mask that represents something that he hopes to find in the end of his journey. In my eyes, this is simply another detail that portrays Golden Order fundamentalism as a highly dogmatic religion, along with the Guardian mask, the symbol of the eternal life, and the many things connected to briars. Other form of a mask tightly connected to a real-world religion is a Glintstone crown in its many shapes. Associated with the ancient Greek cult of Dionysus, similar masks were worn in Greek and later Roman theater performances. A foolish old man, a beautiful young lady, a hero, or a god. The mask's purpose was for the role to be highly recognizable for any viewer, as only a few actors were playing many characters, and by putting on a mask, they transformed into a different person. These masks were made from terracotta, bronze, or stone, decorated with mosaic or gems. In the Academy of Raya Lucaria, the Glintstone crowns were given to worthy scholars according to the specific school of sorcery they were a part of, and similarly to their real-world prototypes, these masks were worn as a distinctive mark that clearly shows who you are. Another mask worn by an NPC in Elden Ring that is tightly connected to the theater is of course Okina's mask, that reminds us of traditional Japanese no performances, where actors wear wooden masks representing one of the 60 archetypes of characters. Each mask is unique and made to convey a certain emotion. But why exactly would Okina, a swordsman who chose the life of a demon, cover his face with a theater mask? What sort of emotion did he want to instill in the hearts of his targets? The last mask I want to discuss today is the Imp hat. For a better understanding of the origins of the imp in this game, I would recommend a video by Elden Tales, but in my own research for today's video, I discovered for myself a unique culture that exists in our world to this day, that may have been an inspiration for these enemies' design. The Asaro tribe of Papua New Guinea, who are also called the Mudmen for their distinct masks made of mud, animal fangs, and bamboo sticks. According to the scientists, there are many legends behind the creation of their masks, but many of them revolve around conflicts with other tribes and the fear the Asaro masks caused, their unique appearance reminding their enemies of evil spirits. But more than anything, I was fascinated to learn that there is a real-life culture where the people wear these large mud masks in a way I could have only imagined in a fantasy setting. Truly, the search for knowledge is unending. There are still a lot of mysteries in the origins of masks in Elden Ring. For example, what is the story behind the Moor mask? What was their culture like? Or can we learn more about Royal Remain's helm? Do you have any specific helm in this game that sparks your interest? Maybe you have your own theory you'd like to share? Make sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.